We'll start with Monday Night Raw. It's been made official that this upcoming week on Raw, CM Punk, his next title defense will be against Finn Balor in Belfast, Northern Ireland. WWE doesn't typically go to Northern Ireland. They normally have gone to Dublin, I think last year on their tour, a part of the European tour, but to go to Northern Ireland, which would be interesting. And Finn Balor, being of Irish descent, period, is going to be in that match. So I want to start off by saying, asking really, is this a real formidable, not, I don't want to say formidable foe because we know it is, but is there any chance CM Punk is to lose the championship here, or is this just kind of like one of those old Saudi Arabia shows where it's kind of just to make everyone feel good because he's the hometown kid?
I think that the last part there. I think it's to good kind of good vibes for the Irish fans and the Irish folks in attendance. I think that's exactly what it is. And yeah, you caught yourself there because it's definitely a formidable foe. I think here's the thing: there's going to be some really great like false finishes. I feel like where just for a split second you're like, oh my goodness, Finn might actually do this. I don't think he does, but I still think it's a great matchup. I'm looking forward to it as somebody who will be off on Monday. I'll be able to watch it live because it's on at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And I know my daughter will be off as well, and she wants to watch it. So we'll be watching that, probably the main event, probably right around dinner time. It's perfect.
I'm not going to lie. I completely forgot that this upcoming Monday is like what a bank holiday sort of, which obviously means that I will have that time off as
There it
well.
is.
So I'll be watching it live. I mean, I typically probably by main event time because it's going to start at 3 o'clock Eastern. I'd be watching it live by main event time, which will be around 5 o'clock Eastern time. Because they are currently 5 hours ahead. It's about a 2.5 hour drive or 2 hours and 15-minute drive from Bray, Ireland to Belfast, Northern Ireland, where Finn Balor was originally is from Bray, Ireland. So I imagine he'll still have some family and stuff in attendance. Now is obviously Finn Balor has been kind of out of the championship scene for a while. He's been focusing on the Judgment Day. Are you excited to see him back in the championship picture, or does this not really count as being back in the championship picture because it's kind of just that I challenge on Raw for the following week, we have the match, and maybe we move on? Or do you see this maybe as more, maybe leading to what we saw with Drew and Cody, where it started off as a championship match that led off to multiple championship matches before finally a rivalry ensued and we had a new champion?
I hope it's that part. I really do. I hope even if I expect Finn to not win this upcoming Raw. I just don't see it. But I'm really hoping that we're going to get more Finn Balor in the main event picture. He could still go. He looks like $1,000,000. He does everything you want him to do, and I feel like he's been overshadowed in a sense from like Dirty Dom. We have, Raquel, Roxanne, and now Liv Morgan's back in the picture. And it's like, you saw the interaction where he kind of got a kick in the pants by Liv, where like, all right, you need to do something. And guess what? He went out and did it. So maybe this is a good thing, not only for him, but also for the Judgment Day, because without Dirty Dom, the Judgment Day is kind of, it's like, I feel like it's almost an afterthought per se, because the main attraction is Dirty Dom, and Dirty Dom is obviously out with the injury. So I really hope that we see. I hope the powers that be, they see how great of a match CM Punk and Finn Balor is, and then we continue doing stuff like that, and we keep him in the main event picture, because everything is better when Finn Balor is in the main event picture. Especially if they brought back the Demon Finn Balor, that would be cool.
I think the issue in bringing back the Demon, at least at this level, is that you don't want to essentially ruin that at this level if he's not going to win, right? If it's just going to be a Monday Night Raw championship match.
I wasn't saying it from necessarily this matchup, but maybe like you just said, there's a storyline and maybe potentially brewing like the Drew McIntyre and Cody Rhodes, where eventually it comes out where it's like now he's the Demon Finn Balor, and then he beats CM Punk down the line. That's where I'm getting at.
I'm having a hard time. I know that there's people out there for him to face, right? And obviously there's still all the rumors out there, whether it's Cody turning heel, Cody winning the Rumble and then moving brands, stuff like that. But I guess my question is I don't foresee after this match, because it's less than 2 weeks prior to the Royal Rumble, that the World Heavyweight title is going to be on the line at the Royal Rumble. I imagine the World Heavyweight title won't be on the line for the most part, I guess, at the Elimination Chamber, unless the Elimination Chamber is to decide for the other championship. Like, I imagine the Rumble we already heard is going to have one championship on the line. It's the winner of Saturday night's main event's number one contender match. So I imagine that at the Elimination Chamber, one title will be on the line at most, maybe none. Last year there was none. There was no titles, period. Not women's titles, nothing on the line last year at the Elimination Chamber. So I'm wondering here, and how many championship matches, I guess, are CM Punk going to be involved in up until WrestleMania? And who are some people he's going to face along the way? Because there's the rumors of Cody, the rumors of Roman, maybe a returning Seth. But what are we doing with CM Punk on the road to WrestleMania?
I feel like, we're going to have the Finn Balor match, obviously. So there's one match between now and Mania. I would probably, I wouldn't count, not including Mania, because obviously he's going to defend it at Mania. Like, that's kind of an obvious thing. I would say maybe two times. So I'd say Finn Balor. And then I could honestly see Braun Breaker getting back in the picture again. I feel like, I know we'll talk more about that because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on with Braun Breaker.
Maybe at Elimination Chamber, it's in Chicago. I feel like CM Punk's going to be the champion, and we know the chamber matches are not for the championship as of late. They're number one contender matches. What also
could happen too is there could be a situation, and I'm just, I don't like to fantasy book it so much, but there's a possibility where who knows, maybe we do have a CM Punk. We have a Braun Breaker and a Finn Balor potentially at WrestleMania. We'll see how it goes, but I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. And obviously with everything going on with Braun Breaker, as we saw this past week, it's, are they going to give him a break? Are they not going to give him a break? That's the biggest story in the business right now is what happened on Raw this past week, between Braun Breaker and Adam Pearce, which, by the way, kudos to Adam Pearce. Like, he didn't back down a bit. Like, that was cool. Like, I like that. That was a good part of it where he showed some backbone where a lot of times in the past, like the GM, so to speak, like the authority, so to speak, kind of get, beat up pretty good. Obviously it took, the entire faction to hold Braun Breaker back, but still Adam Pearce didn't back down. Like, you even heard him cuss. He even cussed on TV. Like, I don't know if you caught that, but they didn't, he cussed a little bit. So, like, this whole thing with Braun Breaker is definitely heating up. And then Paul Heyman kind of laid a little bit of a nugget out about the contact portion of it, where Adam Pearce allegedly made some contact first. I don't know what's going to happen there, but that's Paul Heyman doing what Paul Heyman does, which means this storyline, obviously there's so much to be continued here, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens between now and WrestleMania.
Yeah, obviously just got to keep Braun Breaker fresh after losing that match. I don't necessarily think he's going home. That's kind of a far way to go home. Back to Florida. I don't think, that would just be wild to me, right? Think about it, right? You show up to your day job and you get in a little altercation in Germany and they're like, go home. And you're like, I don't think that's a long flight back home. I imagine he was probably on the house show the very next day. I don't think he probably flew all the way back to Florida overnight. Like, I do like the continuity of when they're overseas. They don't somehow ever really incorporate that into the storylines, as in the sense of, like, they still have those moments where, like, it's a surprise that someone's there, or like they send him home for the day. Like, those are realistic things. Like, I know, like I said, if I'm working and I'm in Germany and I'm there for like a contracted work, then I'm just gonna be like, you know what, you don't look too good. I think you should go home for the day. Like, go home as in like the United States, or like go back to my hotel room here in Germany. But like they also, like said, make it out like it's like a surprise. Like, obviously when Drew McIntyre showed up in Scotland, or sorry, it was CM Punk who showed up in Scotland during Drew's last championship matches a couple years ago, when they had that rivalry going. Like, CM Punk was just like happened to come over here to get involved, just last minute. Didn't see him coming over. Just took a 7-hour flight across the Atlantic.
That's why that whole thing with Paul Heyman kind of like saying, like, kind of like, hey Adam, don't forget you're the one that made the contact first, kind of thing. Like, that leads me to believe that Braun, like you said, he ain't going nowhere. It's just, it adds more layers to the story, and to me, it's probably the most interesting thing that WWE's got going on right now, storyline wise.
I think, I know we've talked about this. It's kind of been a rumor going and such with obviously Chris Jericho coming back at the Royal Rumble. I don't foresee him winning the Royal Rumble.
No, he's
But
not.
definitely one thing, and we saw it last year, right, with The Rock and John Cena and the whole heel turn, and that just completely taking us on a direction where we were on the lazy, boring direction of like, are we even on the road to WrestleMania? And then boom, all of a sudden things kick off. We saw it a couple years ago with John Cena and The Undertaker involved in the Mania main event, things like that. But maybe, Jericho shows up at the Rumble, and then the night after the Rumble, or 2 nights after the Rumble, when they're back in the United States, Jericho says, Punk, Elimination Chamber in your hometown. I didn't come back for nothing. Boom, all of a sudden, Jericho, Punk, Elimination Chamber, out of nowhere. Tickets start to sell for that really quickly. You know what I mean? Because we are officially like on the road to WrestleMania. Because I don't necessarily think Jericho and Punk are a championship match or anything like that at Mania. I don't know where that's going to go, but maybe just kind of that boost to kick off the road to WrestleMania, returning Chris Jericho, and at the next pay-per-view, which is like 4 weeks away, he's in the championship match, and that's like how you get him right back on television, right back involved. And then obviously he'll lose, but somebody else will get involved for how he'll be, what he'll be doing at Mania. But that could be a quick shot in the arm to get us on the road to WrestleMania of interest. And essentially forget about where Punk's going down the line at Mania. Forget about it for a minute and not look at the long term and just be like, Jericho's back. He's fighting for the title. It's the main event of the next pay-per-view. Just like that. I feel like we've seen that too before where like, like Sting is in the WWE and he's at the next pay-per-view. Like those kind of things. Like all of a sudden it's a fast moving thing. Where somebody who's not even here, right, is here and he's doing this. I think we've seen that before with Brock Lesnar, right? Brock Lesnar.
We've seen it multiple times over the years.
All of a sudden, Brock Lesnar is the last image at SummerSlam, and the main event, sort of, obviously, was a kickoff match of the next pay-per-view, WrestlePalooza. It's Brock Lesnar and John Cena. Just like, whoa, there we go. Like, he's back. He's in a match. We're moving forward here. And a month earlier, he wasn't even in the company.
Do you think Chris Jericho is definitely debuting at Royal Rumble, or do you think he comes before or after? Do you think that's the actual date?
Again, I feel like it makes sense in the sense of too also signing kind of like contracts by the year. Like I don't foresee that he would sign some sort of contract and then be kicking around until March or April. Like I don't. If his contract ended December 31st, I imagine they're gonna start using him sooner rather than later. They probably just didn't have a reason to use him yet. We're not going to just debut him like WCW back in the day and on the next night of Nitro. But yeah, I think the Royal Rumble is obviously a pretty clear spot for that. What I think is kind of telling, and I noticed it this year, and this is what kind of really adds more to that rumor of Chris Jericho making a return, is that Jericho the last couple of years has had his Jericho Rock and Wrestling cruise the same weekend of the Royal Rumble. And that's not happening this year. He's got it scheduled for November of 2026, which is the end of the year, but not obviously Royal Rumble time as he has in years past.
Here's my issue with Jericho right now, because last time I checked, he's still a rock star. He still does Fozzy, and I'm pulling up Fozzy's website here for the full tour. He's scheduled to appear. Let's see, February 6th, minus, maybe a day here and there, through February 21st. So a couple weeks. He's going to be overseas in the UK, and it looks like pretty much it's like the UK portion of it. And then they take a break until May 7th and May 14th, where they're in Daytona and Columbus. And then
those are like that's like a one-stop.
Yeah, it's like festival. A quick pit stop. I'm just wondering, what is interesting, though, just if you want to look at it that way, I don't see him starting this tour on the day of Royal Rumble. So maybe he makes an appearance and then he meets up with his boys in England, February 6th, because February 6th is when his tour actually starts. So I'm curious how that's going to work. Like, do we see him kind of like a one-off for a little bit, and then like he does the tour and then pops up at the end of February? Like maybe he shows up at Rumble and then like shows up. When's Elimination Chamber? What's the date on that?
February 28th.
Perfect. He comes at Royal Rumble, and then we don't see him again until after the tour's up, which is Elimination Chamber. Maybe that's the way he gets into the title picture because he
Mhm.
doesn't win at Royal Rumble. He interjects himself at Elimination Chamber
Well,
somehow.
I don't know if he's going to do the John Cena route. I just don't feel
Maybe.
like
I don't know.
I feel like the whole John Cena thing of him interjecting himself into the Elimination Chamber was based on the fact that he had announced this is a retirement tour, announced he was going for the belt, announced he was doing these things. I don't foresee because Jericho shows up at the Rumble. I don't think he's going to win the Rumble. I don't think he's going to be a favorite really to win the Rumble when he shows up. I think it's going to be just
No.
that's a way to return him. So I don't necessarily know why he would be in the Elimination Chamber out of nowhere just because he's here now.
Well,
Like
that
I could see him fighting for the title right away at the Elimination Chamber, just because I could see that kind of organically if he did show up on Raw after Royal Rumble to like announce his presence. But I mean, I would have to if he's going to be in the chamber, I would have to see him like show up before the Elimination Chamber and after Raw in those weeks to essentially make that announcement of why. Because that's what John Cena did. John Cena did that exact same. John Cena announced in the Royal Rumble press conference that he was going to be in the chamber and then was not on television between those two events. The difference is John Cena had already showed up in in January and already announced he was going to be in the Rumble and then already kind of announced how his future plans were going to play out. Like what dates he was already going to be on and things like that. I feel like Jericho can't just show up and then what is he going to say during the press conference of Royal Rumble, which they don't really have anymore. I think he's got to show up and then he's got to kind of announce why he's here, what the purpose is, and like what's going on. Because with John Cena, we kind of already knew this is John Cena's retirement tour. This is what John Cena has in store. He's already kind of announced it a little bit. Jericho, he has to like kind of reintroduce himself, right? He has to kind of do. He's got to show up on Raw and have those promos and announce why he's here and what the purpose of coming back to the WWE was.
so okay.
And
So let's
those kind of
let's
things.
let's do that then. What is it? January 31st at the end of this month, I believe. The last day of the month is the Royal Rumble. So that's January 31st. So then
So fly him back to the United States, show up on that Raw, announce why essentially he's back in WWE. You know, after
flies back across the pond.
it's a lot,
I mean,
but
it's not. I mean, if anybody could do it, it's Chris Jericho. You know what I mean.
Mhm.
I just here's what I would say. Then I would say you're probably right on with the Raw after Rumble, where you have your Rumble. He appears there, and then he appears at Raw, cuts a promo, and then all right, I'm going to see you guys at the Chamber. And then everybody knows, like, okay, he's a rock star. He's going to go perform with Fozzy for a month, and then we'll see him when he gets back. I mean, it makes sense because you got to think this is unique. This is unique because the difference with like John Cena and The Rock, like we don't know exactly 100% what their filming schedule is. It's all rumor and innuendo. Literally, Fozzy, him being a rock star, he has to announce tour dates so he can let fans know, hey, I'm coming to your city. Buy a ticket, come see me in person. So, like being a rock star, he has to have that tour announced ahead of time. So it's a different animal versus the movie star route because we don't know exactly when they're filming. You can guess all you want. So you kind of have to. There's kind of a little bit of a surprise element that's taken away because like okay, we know he's not going to be on Raw these dates because he's going to be in the UK these dates. So we need to figure out how to incorporate him. Royal Rumble, maybe the Raw after, and then he comes back, for the Chamber at the end of the month. Like I think that's how the first three appearances would go if I had to guess.
I'm kind of just looking into maybe. Ooh, am I going to be a part of the Chris Jericho cruise? I mean, especially if he's a WWE, $1,500 is the cheapest price. It got quite a lineup of people, both wrestlers and bands. 1,500 though. That's not till November, so I guess I got some time.
What is it, $1,500 a person?
That, and I'll be honest with you, I understand there's a lot going on. This isn't just a cruise, but typical cruises are actually pretty affordable. They're one of the most affordable vacations. So November 7th through 11th from Miami to the Bahamas. So essentially like a 3-day cruise to go see Chris Jericho. But that means that he's going to have that approved through WWE that he's going to leave and go do this cruise, I imagine. But CM Punk, I don't know if Chris Jericho at the end of the day is his first opponent, but I am very curious because it seems like Cody Rhodes, even though he just lost the championship, has a little more of like what we can kind of speculate his road to WrestleMania looks like and what it looks like at WrestleMania. with CM Punk, it's not so clear cut with Seth Rollins being out and things like that. I'm very curious. If Seth Rollins comes back, then I think we're just going to get more Seth Rollins and CM Punk action. But until
Nobody's going to
then,
complain about that either. Nobody's going to, no, everyone's going to
yeah.
be fine with that, I feel like.
But CM Punk, Finn Balor in Ireland this upcoming week on Raw should be interesting. I am excited to see it, and
Yeah,
we'll
it'll
see.
be a great match. It really will be.
We'll see what the crowd in Belfast does, because again, Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, as known as typically as Ireland, are a little bit different places. So we will see exactly what the crowd actually, if how much in favor of Finn Balor they actually are, because this.
I would bet a decent amount that they're going to be supporting their essentially their countrymen because it's all part of that same region. I know Northern Ireland and Ireland, it's a different thing. I would know this. I know this pretty well because I'm actually my family, doing the whole genealogy thing. My family is from Northern Ireland, from my dad's side. So it's one of those things where I know it fairly well, but I've never been to been to the old country, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, I would feel like they're still going to have that camaraderie. It's the same thing when, in a sense, when Drew McIntyre goes to the UK, like whether it's England, Ireland, it's obviously Scotland.
Wales, they wanted him to win a couple years ago at Clash of the Castle.
Yes, yeah. I mean Wales too. Sorry, Wales people, I forgot about you guys, but I mean that whole region. It's a regional thing. It to me, it's like, in a sense, it's like when somebody's from a certain part of our state or like the region, it's like, yeah, they're a northeastern person, like, yeah, or they're from the south, like that's like it kind of has that feel. So I would be surprised if it's not majority Balor cheers. Obviously CM Punk is pretty well liked and loved across the pond everywhere else. I feel like the crowd will be more pro Finn. I'll be surprised if it's not. So I mean, if I'm wrong about that, I'll own that on next week's pod. But I really think Finn's going to be the one that's going to be essentially in a way the face, so to speak. It's kind of like in a sense, not to the same level, but it's like Bret Hart getting booed in America, and then he's in Canada, and like he's like the most he's like Elvis in America. It's like it's the craziest thing.